Hello, beautiful people. This is Athena StarSeed and the amazing cosmic Kim Hicks. And we are sitting by the beautiful fire. And tell us what's going on.
Well, the most exciting adventure is we're just watering our garden. And that's the collective spirit of our time. We're creating the event of a sacred watering hole for our planet, and just realizing that the full potential of humanity is in simple little actions like being joyfully alive, growing in the garden, just like we raise our children. And you've been doing such a great job with Rev. It's so thrilling. So I'm really excited about it. So the whole metaphor of the garden is, since COVID, oh my goodness, the COVID thing is just, it was so beautiful because on my street, people walk by every day and all of a sudden I have neighbors I've never met. And we're all just having so much fun because it was peaceful. This year, thank you, COVID. There's very few things that have come out that are so good, but I got to hear birds singing in my garden this year. I've never heard the birds sing. I have jets that sing. I have jets that roar. I have cars that scream and the hum of the highway, and it all stopped. How beautiful. And because of that, we got to plant your garden, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
So I just want to share with everybody, something very magical happened. So this summer, Kim took my family to the Kern River, and you took us back into nature, and you said that the restoration of going back to the Divine Mother and resting in her crevices and her cracks and sitting in her flow and her river would bless us and bring us back to the return, right? So we've gotten so far away with our capitalistic patriarchal society, and to go back to the Divine Mother, we bring the nature back. So we came home and you helped us plant a garden, and you planted a garden, and Jesse planted a garden, and Letty planted a garden, and now you're eating out of your garden. So
it's thrilling, and it's all through the adventure of being in nature is the teacher. Nature is the teacher. We just learned so much. We were so inspired that trip. For me, the thrill of taking you and Reverence and Marvin up into the river, into the canyons, into the high rocks and the mountains was just a joyful upliftment. To see how much fun Reverence had leaping off the rocks, and you jumping off that 20-foot rock. I couldn't believe it.
It scared me to death.
And then going down the rapids in the little raft and everything. But those put us in the rhythms of the earth, because the earth is loaded with this rhythmic flow, which is the charge of the earth. I don't know. I got so inspired about the gardening thing. That's why I was so happy to go with you guys up in the mountains, because I just enjoyed it immensely.
Well, it inspired us, and we ended up finding this documentary called Kiss the Ground, right?
Huge.
Huge. We'll put a link underneath to Kiss the Ground, so everybody check that out, because when you realize, and talk a little bit about the dirt.
One of the great things. See, when I haven't gardened since the hippie era, and then we had a big movement in the hippie era to get ourselves back to the earth. We knew intuitively in those years, but then we got not seduced, but we got compelled to wind up in money-making processes. So this was my return after struggling to make money. That I I want to participate in life, real life, and so growing the garden. I want to grow a garden. But the dirt I found is compost soil. LA composts all that organic material and has the material available for free. And that just was so delightful to find out, because I didn't have any money and I wanted to just build the garden. And so, once I realized there's a free source of really good dirt, it was like, hey, let's garden everywhere. Maybe we need to garden the whole city. Maybe there's nothing wrong with Los Angeles that a few half a million tons of compost won't cure, and food, and then nobody's hungry, and then nobody's without flowers, and the bees and the pollinator.
The bees. So we were watching the documentary, and it talked about the CO2 and the earth and the dirt. So can you just talk a little bit about that? How important it is to get that dirt in the right condition?
Yeah, it's a stunning phenomenon. It's very simple, and what they're proposing, and Woody Harrelson is brilliant at it, is that this process of regeneration, earth regeneration, which is only to say, return the earth to its natural ecosystem structures, and it will be fine, and we'll be fine with it. Our sicknesses and our unhealthiness has come from monocropping and glyphosates, poisons, and petrochemicals being used in all through the Midwest where we grow our crops of corn. And because of that, we've been killing the earth, creating the dust bowls and stuff. But all we have to do is return that to the tall prairie grass, to the biosystem that's organic, and we can harvest better, live better, and love better. And that sounds like fun to me.
So we're getting away from plowing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're saying, because plowing was destroying the dirt. Now, why is that?
Well, we're learning about, well, the Indians always had a saying, and they'd stand there watching the white man and go, turning earth upside down, And they just looked with skepticism at white man turning the prairie upside down to plant, because what would happen, the earth dries out, all the biomes that support plants and living critters, they all get blown away. And you had the Dust Bowl because of it. How was the Dust Bowl cured? Ultimately, it was the conservation, the CCC, the conservation program to grow and dam up all the rivulets that were carrying all the topsoil away. So I'm really thrilled that, here's the major point though. The major point is, even if we stop everything that we're doing, carbon emission wise, I mean, really, if we went to zero today, we're still in for an epic sleigh ride of climate chaos. But there is something we can do. We can draw down the carbon. The carbon can be re-sequestered in the earth by simply raising the proper ecological systems and getting them planted. That is a whole new step of the ecology consciousness I haven't seen yet. This Kiss the Ground is a spectacular insight into that, and really
On
explains
Netflix.
it.
It's on Netflix.
Gotta check it out. It's simple, it's straightforward. It just inspired me no end, because I've always dreamed, I have this whole career in Hollywood, and I've always dreamed that, what would Hollywood look like if we had all those set designers turned loose to generate a lifestyle of humanity that would really, it's kind of a science fiction future, or spiritual science fiction future. And, and it was like, what would happen outside the gates of the studios if the set designers went to work? And
Well, it would be Burning Man.
It would be Burning Man, yeah.
It would be Burning Man.
Burning Man with a garden.
It would be a garden.
Burning Man and a garden would be what it is, because it would, that would be it. And the thing about Burning Man that's so inspiring is it's a culture of art consciousness, and art is the consciousness of creativity. And
that's, for me, that's touching God. Once you touch creativity
is the divine connection to God, isn't it? I mean, I see it in the feminine all the time. Feminine energy recognizes God in everything and everywhere so much that it's such a beautiful thing, but especially in nurturing creativity. So the goddess's job, everyone, all you goddesses out there and aspiring goddesses, you have one fundamental job: inspire the masculine to help you get to work on regeneration of this earth. That's our great mythic endeavor, and that's the job of the times. We must be about our mother's business.
And what's so exciting about this is, this is an Emmy award-winning set designer. So he's made a career, a very successful career in Hollywood, pretty much for, 25 or more years. And he just came off of 5 years of Hawaii 5-0 in Hawaii. And now he has blessed us, coming back to the mainland, to bring that Hawaii 5-0, which is the Garden of Eden, back to the States. And we need it more now than ever. When I was thinking, COVID, what can I do? What can I do? I cannot solve the climate issue alone. I cannot solve Black Lives Matter alone. I'm a single mother. What can I do? And you're telling me if I just put my feet in the dirt.
Once that cycle was closed, so your heaven consciousness and your earth consciousness are joined, you are the being in between. You are the bridge between the earth and the heavens. And that is the eternal fountainhead of consciousness and creativity. So it was a great thing to do during COVID, and will be more important as we face climate change now.
Well, now that we know that each and every one of us can actively now participate in being our own solution, where before, like, we were like, oh, what do we do? What's my piece? What's my piece? What can we do?
Yeah.
And you and I decided we're going to plant gardens. We're going to inspire people to plant gardens. We're going to alchemize the soil, right?
Yes.
And then that's going to set off what you said with
Right.
the emissions, so that we can put things back and take things out.
Yeah, we'll be putting good oxygen back in the air, but we're mostly
Taking out the
sequestering
CO2.
the dangerous CO2 will be sequestered back in the earth. We must cool our earth the way we need to cool down our whole civilization, so that
Right.
it becomes much more successful civilization than what we've got now. We have a rat race. We have an economic rat race that's burdening our people. I mean, every time I come back into the cities, I just see people so struggling with the economic structure, and I'm like, what happened to the beauty and the grace of the gardens? Why can't we get there? So I'm very excited about this period of time.
So it's a new time. It's a new era. We're in the unknown. It's undefinable. So we get to define it.
Yes, we do, and let's define it at the highest level, not the lowest common denominator. So, I mean, our film work was always meant to be aspirational. And now I realize the greatest form of filmmaking and work like that is like this documentary, Kiss the Ground, and it is aspiring. It will leave you with a joyful, like, oh, whoa, we can do this.
We can do
We
this.
are humanity, above and beyond the whole basic construct of our civilization.
And all the countries are getting together.
The nations are willing to all open up and everybody can join the climate accords, and all of humanity can go to work on this project. And why not? It would be fun. And there's another secret mission to this, especially for me, and that's I've had some major health issues, and the secret to well-being is in proper nutrition. And good nutrition coming straight out of the earth will cure everybody and throw in a bundle of shamanic goodwill and goddess energy and sacred masculine manifestation energy, and we have a recipe for a new order of civilization that'll be exquisite and bioorganic and highly orgasmic conscious.
And didn't you make a shake out of your garden? You made an entire... Tell me what you put in your shake.
I mean, this is actually, but I'm just getting started in the gardening thing. I don't know anything. I need help, so I have to. But I just ate the whole day. I ate out of the garden, and I had a Swiss chard and cucumber enormous smoothie in the morning, and had a kind of a Greek salad with tomatoes and green peppers, and the only add-on was the olives. And that was my enormous noonday. And then I had yams for dinner, and more chard and spinach. And it was just, I couldn't believe that I'd eaten the whole day super healthy food.
Right out of your front yard.
Right out of the garden. Yeah.
So we will be doing little cutaways and little videos and montages on his garden. And we have a couple other star brothers and sisters, Jesse and Letty down in the Orange County area. And we're going to be highlighting their gardens, because Jesse's been doing a garden for about a year, and she inspired everyone.
She inspired me because, here she was just gardening up a storm, and she's got some friend who's a super organic soil builder guy, and I can't wait to
She got a plot of land.
Yeah,
didn't
she got two plots in a community garden,
And now she's feeding a bunch of people.
She eats in the garden. I want to see all this stuff, and my little garden is just a tiny little garden.
Yeah, but you're feeding yourself and your family at your house.
Yeah, I'm just starting, and it's like I'm not just nibbling on that garden anymore.
So this is like a movement. We are imagining our monthly garden parties.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what that looks like, a monthly garden party.
Well, there's no... I have to go straight back to the experience I had with Judy Chicago's sculpture called The Dinner Party. It's this enormous sculpture with all the table settings representing the different goddesses and different women of historical significance and all the feminine energy and what it has done on the planet. So, and it's a dinner party. It's like, oh, dinner party. Well, women do dinner parties all the time. I didn't get it, but when I walked out of there, I realized that the most important art form of humanity has been the dinner party. The dinner party created and produced by the feminine, by the sacred feminine, was always the nurturing point. It was the gathering point. Come, we'll feed you. That will inspire you. So this is the highest function of the muse, was to run the garden party and to run that consciousness for all humanity and get the men in the highest service we could get ourselves, you know. And we're all willing to do that. We just need a good vision of what we want to do.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to once a month have a garden party.
Yeah.
So our first garden party is going to be hosted by Mr. Kim Hicks, because your birthday's coming up.
That's right.
And we're going to have Jesse and Letty and some of our other garden partners come up, and they're going to bring food from their garden, and we're going to have a buffet of food from each of our friends' garden, and we're going to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
And each month we're going to go to another, maybe the next month will be at my
Right.
house, and then it'll be at Jesse's house or at Letty's house. And we want to inspire everybody watching to start having garden parties, and even if it's small, because it can be 10 people or 5
or,
people.
You know, in COVID, you might have to keep it real small. But boy, when we come back online and we can really socialize, you know, I mean, it's so thrilling to me because I've seen the Europeanification of the Ventura Boulevard, which I haven't been down on in a long time. And I was there at night, and the whole place is now restaurants outside.
Outside, everything's
And
outside.
It's like, oh my gosh, now if we could just eliminate the cars and get the garden to the restaurant food chain working.
We're going to work on that.
That's what we're going to, yeah.
What's the restaurant we used to eat at all the time that was for after our show?
Humble Bee.
The Humble Bee.
The Humble Bee.
So in San Francisco,
Yeah.
based on Kiss the Ground, the documentary, they went to a restaurant. They took all of their old food, right, that they
Yes.
were going to throw in the trash, and then they took it to the compost.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to find local restaurants who want to do that, and then we're going to be able to have composting dirt and earth, and then start sharing resources like how you got that dirt for free. But if we got the food also,
Right.
instead of wasting it, then we can feed more people, and then we're independent and
That's
we're
right.
interdependent,
That's right.
but we're self-reliant and self-actualized. And the second part of this is, if you could play your guitar, music.
Yeah.
You've been singing for your garden.
Yeah, this is we're dedicating this to the a declaration. This is a declaration of interdependence, that all of humanity is interconnected, and our relationship to the earth is the primary relationship. And if we humans create this network of consciousness, we won't need politics, religion, and the corporate overmind to really run and guide the show. All of those would just become service entities for the well-being of humanity. And I think it's time. We've got to globalize our consciousness, so this is a call to exactly do that, and to do it on this earth.
And you know, you had a really good idea too. You said that, let's say just your small neighborhood,
Yeah.
you have enough land and your property that you own that you actually could feed at least a block. Like if people
Yeah.
came in, and so how would that work? Like there's one central plot of
Well,
land around a certain amount of houses.
Yeah, and yeah, because I think we're going to begin these organic clusters, which will be kind of cooperatives. I'm just imagining it. Listen,
We're dreaming. We're just
keeping this
dreaming.
up, but it seems that a group of neighbors within, 10, 12, 14 homes can share enough resources to have a higher quality of standard of living and kind of grow enough food together, maybe semi-specialized here and there.
Right, like a kibbutz or
who's
something.
really good, who's got the fruit trees, and do a good bit of sharing and make it work. We don't know how long this economy is going to hold together. In fact, I have my doubts about the whole epic structure of the economy, but I implicitly trust the growing seasons. Watching the grass grow and become full and go to seed, and watching the health of the pollinators who
Right.
showed up, the butterflies. I mean, they don't hang out down the block. They come to my little tiny garden, but they're there.
Yes, and I also told my gardeners every other week now, because I want the
Yeah.
grass to grow, because the dandelions bring the bees.
Yes.
And so the bees are the pollinators, and Reverence continues to, like, bees come and they jump in the pool, and we got to save the bees, but we get the bees out,
Yeah.
and the bees go buzzing around, and then they start pollinating, and so it's worthy to let your grass grow a little longer so that they can do their nature's job. If everything's totally manicured to the pin, you're not letting nature
Yes.
start healing herself.
We need to return to the circadian rhythms. Like the point that most blew my mind in the spring this year was that when all the grass is seeded, the birds came, and I had a feast going. There were hundreds of birds in my yard. It was like, because I let all the grasses go to seed instead of keeping it as a green lawn. And it was like, the light bulbs started to go off. I went, this could be, let's see, this is how it's done in nature.
Right, and so I feel that this wonderful opportunity is a rebooting of Mother Gaia.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a reset for everybody. The way that we eat, the way that we socialize, the way that we create. We're more artistically driven, because let's say if they cut out all the regular jobs. Well, when people are calling me for soul readings, I'm like, don't you remember why you came to the planet in the first place? Was it to take a job, or was it to create something that you want to leave the planet with that's better? What's your life purpose? What's your dream? So most of the work I do with my clients now is taking off the layers of the egoic illusion that people got trapped in, like a Houdini prison, of their structures. And I think Ram Dass talked about this. He had a movie called Becoming Nobody. He said first you have to become somebody, right?
Right.
The identity,
Yes,
to
yes.
then become nobody, to take it off and go, what was I supposed to be doing?
That's exactly what's happened to me. The whole puffing up in the Hollywood career, and then the desire to return to just being, a state of being, That we're not human doings, we're human beings. And the grace of being in the timeless zone on this planet, which we were in at the river. When we went to the Kern,
So magical.
it was an epically timeless, floating, summertime, super hot event, super cool water, and magic rockery, and just these events of the ravens flying over the river, and we did a big little prayer ceremony in the river.
And it rained. It rained.
Right
We were
after
singing,
that.
and it started. I was praying, and you were playing, and it started raining just where we were, like 100 feet to the right, 100 feet to the left down the river.
Yeah.
And then it spread out, and then we got 2.5 hours of rain, and we played in the puddles.
We played in the puddles, and you got a big umbrella. We didn't stop having fun. Everybody else was hiding in their cars and
We were
stuff,
like
and we're
singing
out
in
there.
the rain.
It was beautiful, and the cleansing of the earth. I mean, the plants sing their songs, and when that song of calling in the rain was, we activated the plants come in harmony, the rain comes, and everything was blessed. It was magic, clean.
It was
clean,
amazing.
happy
I was
plants.
amazing. I have to tell you. Okay, so I'm sitting in the water and I'm just doing a prayer. Kim walks out with this beautiful guitar and goes waist deep in the water and starts talking to the crows. You said, I have some elder crows, grandfather crow.
Yeah.
Came and started talking to you. You started singing, and about 6 minutes later, it started to rain all over me in the water.
Yeah, they have a nest on the cliff that across the river from us, and it was so much fun because as I played, he was like paying attention, that guy, and I was like, trying to hear everything he's got to say, and he did some cawing in there, and I was like, oh boy, I got to learn that language. You speak a beautiful, beautiful spiritual language, my friend. I want to hear that. So.
Oh, and then the one other thing we got blessed with, you were playing at night, and the praying mantis landed on your guitar strings and started playing your guitar with you for 45 minutes.
We hung out with those guys.
And he looked like an alien. He was like
Yeah.
looking at us, and he was like playing the guitar strings, and you were playing, and then Marvin did the didge.
Marvin played the didge right up next to him.
And he was like...
He's like, yeah, just like
he was
this.
vibing with the
vibing
didge.
with it. It was phenomenal. That was the most intimate contact I've ever had with a praying mantis. It was really fun, delightful. And his friend showed up.
Oh yeah,
And,
there's two of them. That's right.
so
One
there
was
were-
green and one was brown.
There were two of them, and they both were very comfortable in the environment with us. So I just felt totally blessed.
I felt like nature was going, oh, these two are actually listening.
Yeah, right.
Because isn't it in the music of the nature and the music of the
Absolutely.
spheres? Like if you
Yeah.
get quiet enough.
Oh yeah, that's the whole important thing. I mean, my biggest lesson was the silence from the mechanistic world permitted the organic world, and I realized the evolution of the planet has always been the song of the spheres, but the birds are the bearers, they're the singers. And to hear them this spring, the joy from them was overwhelming to me. And no airplane, no cars,
And no light pollution. We were camping.
Yeah.
And magically,
Yeah.
first of all, Kim took us into the wilderness and there was no plan. Okay, now for me, type A, that was like, I trust you, I'm breathing. He's just like, magic, a free camping spot shows up, somebody else guides us over here, this thing opens up. I mean, just like the whole universe just wrapped us like a blanket. And then you took us to that waterfall with the grotto.
Oh my goodness.
And we all swam and the waterfall poured over us and we all got baptized.
That was a blessing. That was such a blessing. That little, because it was, it's dark water and you're not sure. The
It was
rocks
a little
are
scary.
slippery. You have to be, alert and conscious in
And
nature.
respectful.
And yes, with regard.
Reverence.
Oh boy.
With nature.
You have to, it's very wise as you enter your canyon or you're heading into the wilderness to ask permission. And I've learned that from an old willow tree down in the basin and in the redwoods. But it was a lone tree and I had to, you couldn't go by her without asking permission. It just was not, you wouldn't do that.
Well, you actually baptized us in Lake Isabella before we even went up to the
that's
Kern.
right. Oh, my goodness.
I got baptized.
Oh, was that beautiful? Yeah, the Kern, wow, dropping into Lake Isabella. And Reverence was delightful. So Reverence would go charging, running, and I clipped it into slow-mo, and she would go, whoa!
And she dove,
diving in.
right like this, like a
Yeah.
right into the water.
And the water just came up like this and splashed in slow motion. It was a beautiful little window of ecstasy, just a micro window into the cosmic laughter and joy.
You know what I learned? That I don't actually need very much. Because we had a tent, like a backpack and some water, and we shared resources, and we had more than enough. I was like, oh my gosh, I could live like this. Wasn't it magnificent?
Yeah, I think, it was so thrilling. I really want to spend my life being as conscious and creative as I can in the community of consciousness and creation here, Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to spend the summers out and about in the great wilderness and going into vision questing and fasting in nature and meditation and that's I think is the beautiful cycle. I think the magic is going to be that, and that gentle traveling, especially among friends and allies of the spirit of sharing. Your whole we were working on the chain of houses when we have a what did we.
We're going to do our White Light Railroad.
That's right, the White Light Railroad.
And the White Light Railroad is basically when people turn their homes into gathering centers of temples of light, like a garden party or a musical event, or just coming over. Sometimes you sketch or you paint, or you came over here and you built a model with Reverence, and we built a whole sustainable community. Yeah. That we are being able to hold the space for the light, because people are some people are unplugging from organized religion, and they're going back to the family, a family vibration in the home. And you talked about this, about the salons back in the 50s and the 60s.
Well,
and who's Gene
Houston.
Yeah, talk about Gene Houston.
Gene Houston is the most intelligent humanoid I know of on the planet. She is a brilliant, luminous being. But the magic of what she has done and what she does is that she's kind of a master chef. And you're the food. And she prepares you in such a beautiful way, and then ceremoniously opens you up. And this process of feeding you and then watching you blossom, and it's just a stunning process. So she's single-handedly revitalized my entire spiritual nature and re-anchored me in a pattern of what can I say, of wholeness and well-being and ease and grace in just trying to move like a fluid into the whole cosmic flow of the universe, which was what we are. So I'm very...
And it's important for women to realize the power of holding the nest and having the dinner party, right? So you have the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Green Party, the Tea Party, and the Garden Party. And when a woman or a man holds that nest space, you were saying that most of the conversations that actually go down to run the planet are at those dinner parties.
They are. Never
the salons.
Never underestimate the
power of a woman with the gathering.
With the gathering to create an opportunity for a conscious, creative group of people who will then change the world.
Right, because it was a beautification. When you put people in a beautiful environment and they have taste, smell, sight, sense, touch. You do it. You have lights at your house, the incense, the fire burning, and you collect these creatives, and then emergence. They start sparkling their dreams and inspiring each other, and then what comes out of that?
You know who a phenomenal example of this, of the sacred feminine in full swing, was Betsy Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Betsy Ross was the one who threw the parties that brought the gentlemen together who could do something about it. So Jefferson and Franklin and Washington are all showing up. And what does she do? Feed them. That gets them going. And then what does she do? She's the one that stitched together the flag. So she actually turned out and sewed the symbols of freedom into that, and the symbols of democracy and consciousness. And so there's the Garden Party full operation.
Right, and we are now restitching the fabric of what it really means to be America. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not a nationalistic thing. It's an idea of liberation for the world. The Statue of Liberty was gifted to us to represent full liberation, not just for Americans, for all beings on the planet.
Yes, this is a vital point. I mean, it really is the point, the idea of liberty being the American dream. The American dream is for the entire planet. We represent the dream makers, creators of the planet. We are Hollywood, etc., which has created the vision of the potential for humanity. That's vitally important. So the Statue of Liberty should only represent the gift of the American dream to all humanity. And our nations, we reduce the quantity of our nationhood. I mean, we're not up against anybody. We're not in competition with the Chinese people. We're not in competition with anybody.
We're the melting pot.
We're the melting pot.
We're the stew.
Yeah. And so we can do this gracefully, but we must honor all the gifts that come from all the peoples of all these different nations. I mean, look at what we've gotten from India with the chakra systems, and we've gotten yoga.
The Vedic technology.
The Vedic technology. Absolutely phenomenal gifts, you know. And all
and
nations.
Zen
from the Japanese people and the peoples of the islands out there. You know, and all these and the African culture has been a phenomenal birthing ground, because it was the
Dogon tribes,
the birth of the rhythm and the music and the dance. I mean,
the drums come out of Africa,
drums,
which is like the heartbeat.
Yeah. So if we
all the continents, you said, contributed to the consciousness of our global Earth library.
Yeah.
For the cosmos.
That's right, and that's what we are, because it's like all these nesters on the planet, as all the animals. They have this beautiful culture of how they live and eat, but they also have their culture of loving. And it's like one of the things I'd love to see and love to see all humanity is to be able to travel around the planet and experience the way other cultures and other consciousness enjoy the process and the creation of lovemaking environments for their own regeneration and what that's like, and the rituals that are involved in the blessings in the marriaging and the puberty rituals and the but deep honorings and
the rites of passage.
The rites of passage everywhere, and
the rites of passage.
deep stuff. So let's get back to that, huh? Let's get into the power and grace of nature.
So as we sit by the fire, which is like, I guess you have that green fire quote from that French guy.
Oh, yeah.
Pierre
de Chardin. Long after the man has harnessed all the power of the winds and the waves and the tide, he will yet again discover a new fire, and that is the fire of love. And that fire will unify everybody. And that's the sacred job of our humanity now at this point. And it's something we can really lean into.
So I love actually having our fireside creation chats, because we want to share these juicy conversations, and like a gardener, like a good gardener, we sprinkle little seeds of light. And if they fall on rich soil in your soul, you will then start to flower your own golden garden of Eden. And the earth will return back to her truest nature. And we have to go back to the mother. We have to go back to our original nature. And that's what is going to be the solution to this conundrum. If we unplug from all the separateness and the duality and the decisiveness and the againsts, we go into how are we the same, right?
Yes, we are.
How are we the same?
The unification of humanity.
We all love.
Yeah. We all
have to eat.
We all have blood in our veins and water in our rivers, and the water should be clean and the blood should be pure. And that we can share with everybody, And
I think gardening will be that return. I mean, think about it like just now. Let's just imagine 5 years into the future that every single home has a garden, and we cut down on the trucking and the industry and the buying and the spending and the gasoline, all of this stuff, just by doing something simple, by being able to subsidize your own expenses by putting in the garden for yourself and your family. And Kim, you are putting in solar panels, I heard?
I'm in. I have a total solar setup, but I don't have the battery system. That's next. And so
I want to film that.
Really, the two key things, I think, for all of us globally are the energy independence and production of food. The two done locally. The rest is up for grabs, and travel, etc. All that can be done within those bounds, but really, food must be grown regionally and locally. So you're going to have this tourism that's going to be this eco-consciousness tourism, traveling around the world to enjoy such things as the olive harvest in Italy. You know, or the...
that would be Athena, because Athena gave the olive tree to Athens. And the olives.
Yes, and the olive
branch, which is the peace.
The olive branch, which is the symbol of peace.
Let's give olives out. I should be giving olives to people. I wonder if I could grow an olive tree. Do we have the equipment?
No, we absolutely can.
I specifically should grow
I was working on a show in Turkey doing something.
About the Christ, didn't you do the Bible story?
Yes, I did a big 10 Bible stories for National Geographic.
National Geographic. So you guys check that out. That was an amazing documentary.
That was kind of really interesting. But the most fun thing about it is I'm working with a lot of locals, and everybody stopped, and they all said, "Well, we're not gonna work for a little while. We've got something to do." And I was like, "What's going on? We got to work. We're Hollywood. We got to make this show." Blah blah blah. Everybody stopped to participate in the harvest of the olives. Wow. I was stunned to watch it because I'd never seen it. I'm a kid from New York City. I never saw anything like that. And there were people on ladders and trees and bushels and women and children. Everybody came out to help. And then there were the crushing and the big mills that they would grind the olives into olive oil, and then they were putting them up in special ways, magical ways. And all the peasants would have all these fantastic recipes for olives, and it was just what an experience that was to see it. And then we got back to filming, and everybody was happy.
What was the name of that documentary?
That was I think it was, at the time, was called Science of the Bible, and I think it was about 9 episodes. And
But you had some top scholars that were actually proving that Jesus was a historical
yes, it was
person?
what we were trying to do was figure out sort of what elements are mythological in the tale, in the Jesus story, and what are more or less realistic facts. And that was really beautiful, because once you put it all together and get the actual history of what happened, and yes, indeed, Jesus was a very, very likely to be super historical figure, but he was also likely to have a family, and he was likely to have learned a lot of his structure from his thinking, his beautiful thinking from mystery schools or from the yogis of India. But bringing that all to the table was fantastic, because
You had a lot of scholars on that project.
I had the thrill of dealing with the scholars, and the scholars would like be the most enthusiastic about getting the story straight. I mean, this is what was really fun about it, and we got to learn and understand the use of mythology. And so the virgin birth and the resurrection these are mythological events. And when you sandwich mythologies around an actual reality, you have a kind of cosmic sandwich that feeds the spirit and the soul. But you're never meant to buy into the mythologies completely, because you must take the value out of it and use it in your life.
In your own life.
See, it doesn't matter what the scholars
How
say.
can you use it?
It doesn't matter whether Christ was real or not in the long shot. What matters is, does this help you with your life? And that's the magic, and that's the magic of the garden. Does this help you with your life?
Yes.
Is this going to nurture you? Is this going to show you how to grow up and leaf out, get strong and flower? Well, let's find out.
You know, and another thing too about the garden, just like I'm a baby gardener because it's only been, a couple weeks really. However, I noticed that the plants, they grow and they're turning. You know what I'm saying? The leaves come, and there's that Fibonacci sequence, which also matches the cosmic spiral. So how is that?
That all the plants are so sensitive to the gravity field and the spinning of the earth. So the giant sequoia redwood are coming up out of the earth in this slow motion spiral, twisting, and in the process of twisting, throwing their branches out in a regular rhythmic pattern known as the Fibonacci series. So for me, it's
you're like a mathematician too, because you have to draw all that math
Yeah,
when you're designing the sets.
Yes, and I was a mathematician in the art world, and so it's just fascinating to understand that and see that the patterning of flowers, the double helix involved in the sunflowers.
You brought me a sunflower.
I brought you a sunflower. You're going to have a sunflower bloom in this garden before the winter's over. And you know what? We're dealing with a winter garden now. This is not even our summer garden. We're way late in the season. But California is a gift from the gods. We can grow 3 crops in a season here. So let's start growing food.
And it's amazing too, because you got a sunflower, and your sunflower popped out a seed and then reseeded itself. You didn't even plant it. And so it was a second generation from your own.
That's right. That's a baby from a plant that I got from a nursery, but now it's a natural baby, and I gave it back to you. So
and now I'm going to have little babies.
Right. And another wonderful little thing is, Athena had given me a big smoothie 6 months ago or sometime, and it was wonderful. And with it, she'd given me, I think you were going away on a little trip, and I got her ginger. What a big leftover piece of ginger.
I put gingers in all my smoothies.
I didn't get to it. It stayed in the refrigerator, and it started to.
It was in July because I went home. I went to Maryland to see my parents.
So and I didn't want to throw it away because I'm on a composting kick. And then I looked at it and I said, I'm going to just toss it in the ground with my garden. Well, I just gave her a transplant from my garden of one of the
ginger root took root and it grew. Now he's growing ginger from my ginger.
From her ginger, and I returned the ginger to her.
And I'm growing your sunflower in my garden. So now we're sharing roots and seeds.
Yeah, roots and seeds. Yeah.
and we're sharing our hearts and our souls
Yeah.
and our dreams. And we had something really wonderful happen, you guys. We want to share this with you. You guys are listening to this first. We got a very wonderful phone call today from Mike Horn from CRN Talk Radio. We have a show called Heaven on Earth, and we did, I guess, about 1.5 years of shows. Then we took a break because you were in Hawaii. And then he just called us today and said, please come back. We need you.
Yeah.
Your show's so positive. So we'll be starting our show back up again.
Which is really exciting.
And we'll let you guys all know.
Fun.
So if you are listening now and you want to see our shows, it's called Heaven on Earth. You can just YouTube it and just put in Athena StarSeed, Heaven on Earth, Kim Hicks. And all of our shows will come up. We have a great show with Donna DeLore, who was on tour with Madonna for about 20 years. And yeah, that was a really great show because she's actually singing about heaven.
Yes, she's another one
Here in heaven.
calling the heaven down to earth.
Calling the heaven down to earth. Absolutely, calling the heaven down to earth. So, you know how much I love music. I thought we would end with you playing something on the guitar, even if it's just an instrumental. By the fire. And then we're going to visit because we actually are going to watch tonight. Our movie night is that documentary with... Tonight we're going to watch Ram Dass and Timothy Leary. It's a new documentary that just came out about dying. It's about both of them and their entire life stories. So if you haven't seen that, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link behind.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting.
Oh, you're going to love it.
For me, having grown up with those guys, I mean, I didn't know them, but I grew up in that era with them, and the whole experience and what I've learned from the psychedelic experience has been just a tremendous honor. Expansion of consciousness.
Yeah, you know, one of the funny things is he goes in front of the Senate and somebody asks him, because, you know, they were doing, you know, experiments specifically for Harvard. They were doing a research project. And so they ask him, can you tell us how many trips you've taken? And it's over 3,000. He goes, can you describe briefly what happened to you in one of your trips? And he goes, no, I can't briefly describe 3,000 acid trips in a brief paragraph. There's absolutely no way. The whole universe pouring through a thimble, you know.
Yeah, it was an honor to be a youth and to be available to the LSD experience in just pure graceful innocence, to understand that I was seeing and feeling that the illusions of my life were being ripped open, and I could see the most exquisite structure of the universe, all of it just pulsing together in this throbbing, beautiful state of being, and the energy vortexes in the trees and the nodes, and how the trees were dancing and singing, and how all the creatures were fitting in, and my skin would peel back until all the veins and the arteries were the roots going into the earth. You know, these are shamanic experiences, and after that I understood the whole native culture move and what that was about, which was real experience. So.
I love you.
I
love you so much, and I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I love you, Jen, JP. I love you, James Cox. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Blessings and light. Stay tuned.